Welcome back to another Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining me today because, well, we're tackling a concept that sits at the absolute foundation of how we interact with the world. Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a deeply thought-provoking text written back in 2015 by the author Zhu Feng, and it's titled, Should We Maintain Kindness? Now, this isn't just your standard philosophical exercise. No, this text literally challenges our most deeply ingrained assumptions about human goodness. It forces us to ask, do the virtues we've been taught since we were kids actually hold up out there in the messy real world? I promise you, by the time we wrap up this explainer, you're going to look at your own actions and the whole concept of doing good in a totally different light.
Part 1, the universal law and the baseline of human goodness.
So to start deconstructing kindness, we've got to look at our baseline, right? What exactly is the universally accepted standard of human goodness? If you look across almost all cultures and belief systems, the teachings of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and ancient sages, they almost always revolve around one single unified theme: kindness. The author actually kicks things off by acknowledging this beautiful consensus, stating he believes these teachings are absolutely correct. Throughout history, kindness has been the ultimate virtue. As Shui Feng poetically puts it, people should be kind because kindness is the most beautiful flower in the soul garden. And, this idea blossoms into a universal law that society broadly accepts as fundamental truth. Good deeds bring good rewards. We hear variations of this everywhere. Karma, the golden rule, you reap what you sow. We literally build our societies, our laws, and our internal moral compasses around this exact assumption. The idea is, if you do good things, the universe will reward you with good outcomes. It's a comforting, stabilizing thought, isn't it? But before we get too comfortable, the author invites us to completely dismantle this idea. Which brings us to a dead stop with a fundamental question. What is kindness? Seriously, think about that for a second. We toss the word around all the time, but how do we actually define it? Is it an intent? Is it the action itself? Or is it defined entirely by the outcome of that action? Zhu Feng forces us to abruptly pivot away from this idealized, perfect version of kindness and look at how the concept actually behaves in the unpredictable, real world. I want you to actively question your own preconceived definitions here as we dig into the author's personal experiences.
Part 2, is it kindness? Personal paradoxes and harsh realities. Let's move to and see how this builds in the author's actual lived experiences.
We're transitioning now from abstract philosophy into some tough, real-world applications. Zhu Feng presents 3 very specific anecdotes where his earnest attempts at being kind severely and sometimes painfully backfired. First up, he recounts being approached by a group of people who pitifully called him daddy. He tried to help them out, naturally, but they ended up scamming him out of hundreds of thousands of yuan. He asks, was that kindness? His conclusion? No, it was just foolishness. Next, he describes wholeheartedly caring for someone. Pure, unselfish care. But the result? That person ultimately belittled him and looked down on him. Again, he asks himself if his care was kindness. His reflection tells him it wasn't. It was ignorance. Finally, we look at a broader political context. He describes sincerely praising a certain government, party, and leader straight from the bottom of his heart. But the reality he experienced was that they eventually took over his home and drove him to the brink of despair. Was his sincere praise kindness? In his view, absolutely not. It was aiding the wicked, and he actually describes his own praise as an irrational evil. Now, without taking any sides on the politics here, we can clearly see the author's profound disillusionment. His good deeds weren't just naive. In his eyes, they actively became destructive.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast it creates. We've got the pure intent of helping others colliding head-on with the harsh reality of foolishness and ignorance. This brilliantly juxtaposes our internal desires to do good with the external consequences of our actions. It really begs the question, if an act of kindness ends up empowering a scammer, or feeding someone's arrogance, or supporting an oppressive system, does it lose its status as kindness? The author argues yes, for sure. The intent alone is simply not enough to call an action kind.
Part 3, nature's moral gray areas, moving beyond human interactions.
So, if human society makes kindness this complicated and paradoxical, what happens if we look elsewhere? We're going to shift our focus away from human-to-human interactions for a second and look at literal life-and-death scenarios. The author presents us with a deeply challenging paradox. If someone ends a life, is that kindness or is it evil? This completely fractures that black and white binary of morality we're so used to. As the author points out, if you firmly believe ending a life is evil, well then you are logically forced to oppose euthanasia, even if it ends profound suffering.
On the flip side, if you decide that ending a life to stop suffering is an act of kindness, then does that mean many people should simply be sent to their graves right now just to spare them from life's inherent pain? All of a sudden, human morality feels very, very inadequate to answer this.
Let's step back from humans entirely and just look at the basic food chain. Think about raw, natural survival. A cat catching a mouse, a bird eating a worm eating crops. This brilliantly illustrates the crux of the problem. Are any of these animals being kind or evil? No, right? They're literally just surviving. The bird isn't evil for eating the worm, and the worm isn't evil for eating the crops. Nature operates entirely outside of our made-up human concepts of good and bad.
Now, consider this. Is a blooming poppy flower kind or evil? I want you to really sit with that for a moment. A simple flower. It's incredibly beautiful, right? A true product of nature. Yet, it can be harvested to create devastating narcotics that destroy lives. So, does this simple botanical entity hold any moral weight? Is the flower itself evil? Of course not. It simply exists. The whole human framework of kindness and evil completely falls apart when you try to apply it to the natural universe.
Part 4. True kindness defined. Rejecting the binary of good and bad.
This all leads the author to his final philosophical awakening. Referencing his previous work, Elementary Self-Improvement, Shuifeng makes a really radical decision. Having seen firsthand how human kindness can act as foolishness, ignorance, or even irrational evil, and having seen how the natural world operates entirely without these labels, he declares that he neither wants to be a good person nor a bad person. He is outright rejecting the binary altogether. So, the crucial point is how we move forward. If human definitions of kindness are deeply flawed, what's the alternative? Well, he defines true kindness as living according to the Creator's intentions and the will of the greatest creator. He strips kindness of human morality, completely detaches it from societal approval, and aligns it strictly with the natural divine order of the universe. To be truly kind isn't about people-pleasing or blind charity. It's about functioning in perfect harmony with the vast overarching design of existence. Just like the bird, the cat, or that blooming flower.
Which leaves us with this final profound question to ponder. Are you acting on human kindness or natural order? When you go out and do a good deed, are you just reacting to a human emotional construct that might actually be foolish or ignorant? Or are your actions truly aligned with a deeper natural truth? It's a heavy question for sure, but it's one that challenges our deepest beliefs about good and evil. I really hope this explainer has given you a powerful new lens through which to view your own actions and the world around you. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and hey, keep questioning.